This is me stating my position and putting my own opinions to the situation of Sophie's choice. How I put on the thread of me and Zakaya. Zakaya had said how the Nazi soldier and Sophie both did something wrong. The Nazi soldier was wrong because he called out Sophie, who was just standing around minding her own business with her two children. That is true, she was minding her business with her two children. However, when the Nazi officer comes up and asks him questions, that is in fact his job to do so. He has the right to ask questions and has the right to do whatever he wants. That's why I had said right here, when I responded to Zakaya, I had put how the Nazi officer was just doing his job. It is inhumane for him to ask the mother to choose between both of her children. However, he was just doing his job, because maybe if he would have let them go without putting a punishment with her being Christian, he could have probably gotten a punishment for it. However, I do believe that something that Sophie could have done differently was just leave the officer alone, because if you paid attention close in the video, you can see how the Nazi officer, after he asked Sophie questions, he was leaving, but then Sophie still screamed out loud, "I'm Christian." When the Nazi officer didn't even ask her about that, she just thought that that would maybe save her, but in fact it ended up being something bad towards her. So that's when she had to choose between both of her children, and she chose the older boy. It is, even if it's bad for her to choose between both of her children, the older boy is more helpful, since the little girl, well, she can't really take care of herself when the boy could probably. And on the philosopher, I believe that the philosopher that fits perfectly in this situation is, I'm not sure how to say his name. It's Friedrich Nietzsche, I think. And I believe that because in his eyes, he believes there is no God. So us humans are able to do whatever we want and punish people for their actions. Just how the Nazi officer did it. How he punished the woman Sophie for being Christian by taking one of her children. And Nietzsche also claimed that humans must craft their own identity through self-realizations without relying on anything but themselves. So in regards to Sophie, Zakaya had put how the Nazi officer should have respected her, because he did approach her before all of this started. He did approach her first. So he could have been more respectful with the questions he asked her. That's why Sophie got a little upset, because of the questions the Nazi officer was asking her. But I personally understand that was not the right decision. But if Nietzsche was here today, he would not care. And he would most likely do the same thing that the Nazi officer did if he was in his shoes and if he was there at that moment. That is all. That is my opinion. I believe that the Nazi officer was just doing his job, and that Sophie could have been more quiet about the whole Christian situation, because that wasn't the reason why she had to give up one of her children, because how they were also against Christianity and Christians. So I do believe that she could have been more quiet about that. But that is all.